polls. At the same time today, the Roots Party presidential candidate, Professor George Wajackoyah, was also launching his party's manifesto live at the Kenyatta International Convention Center. Let's cross live to that location and listen.
Who have come in this place without asking for money. Young men and women who have come here today to sacrifice for their future. Young men and women who are sitting in this podium, who have come from Madare, who have come from Kangemi, who have come from Kibera and Kayole, on barefoot, without being given money, without being bussed in here, without having our men and women singing and dancing before others after the few coins that they have been paid. I can freely tell you that what I've seen here today should be what you should be doing every day. What I've seen here today should continue after the 9th of August. When we take over the government, we are going to inherit a very, very huge debt. Don't you dare be told, and let truth be told today. Some people are saying that in the first 100 days, they are going to do this, they are going to do that. As we are inheriting problems, we are inheriting deficit, we are inheriting financial disaster. The issue of happiness should not be there. Let us rejoin ourselves. Let's look into ourselves. Let's look at ourselves in the mirrors. What kind of government are we inheriting? We are inheriting a bankrupt economy. And for the first 100 days, not 100 days, 500 days, or let me say 6 months, or let me say probably 1 year, we are going to have to work very hard. It will be a period of tears. It will be a period of not ululation, not harmony, but a period of disaster. Because we shall be like, now, where do we go from here? Do we continue borrowing, or do we sacrifice to have what we have? I'm going to sacrifice my gold, the one that my daughter bought me when she passed her exam. I'll sacrifice this. We'll put it somewhere and melt it to cure the disasters of this country for the first 1 year as we grow hemp. We are also going to look at judiciary. We are also going to look at the judiciary, and we shall ask ourselves, why were these laws made, and who made this law, and for what purpose? Were these laws made to injure and punish the poor, to have them last in poverty? Or were these laws made for the rich people, or to punish young people who have no employment, who have nowhere to go? When they see something like marijuana, to actually treat their emotions, they are arrested and beaten and thrown in jail. Is that what we want with the judiciary? Or do we want to have a new mechanism of judiciary so that people can participate in that judiciary to have proper judicial outcome? Or do we have to have this archaic law from Britain? These punitive laws that were brought in by the colonial masters. And we are told, this is the law, you have to follow it. Whose law is it? We have to introduce what we call subaltern laws, laws of the people. And the only way we can introduce laws of the people is to suspend the Constitution, to suspend part of that Constitution, to suspend the Constitution. When I say suspend the Constitution, the first people to attack me are those people in suits and ties, people who purport to have gone to school, people who purport to know that law is made to be a law. Tunafuata sheria, tunafuata sheria. Hiyo sheria mkifuata namna hivyo, tunaungua. Ukienda nchi zingine watu wamesema pana, let us have alternative dispute mechanism. Ili mtu akiiba kuku ya mtu, tujue ni kwa nini aliiba hiyo kuku ya mtu. Aliiba hiyo kuku ya mtu akiwa na njaa, ndiye achinjie watoto wake wakule to survive. Survival for this. Ama unashikwa na polisi, huwezi kuulizwa kwa nini umeiba. Can we call the owner of the chicken and ask him, look in my eyes. If you are angry like this man, and your children were sleeping hungry, and maybe he has a wife who has given birth and there's nothing the wife can eat to maintain the child, and maybe he was afraid that if he asked you, you'll chase him away, would you really do this kind of thing? Therefore, we need reconciliation at all levels. We need reconciliation at all levels. We need to talk to each other. We need laws that harmonize relationships between people or the hemp tribe. We don't need now to call the police and the chief. Something like Changa. A child came to my home recently, a little boy, And he said, Dad, I want you to listen to me. Then I said, what is it? He said, I've passed my exam. My mom brews changa. I can't go to school because the changa that was brewed yesterday to be taken to Marach Estate in Busia, the chief came and threw it away. Therefore, I have no money to go to school. What would you do to such a kind of a child? Ladies and gentlemen, what will you do to such kind of child? What will you do to that chief who comes to pour that drink to deny this boy or this girl a chance? Answer me. Answer me. What would you do if you go home and you find that something very petty has led to someone being arrested and denied his life? What I did is I said, son, I'll take you to school. And my PA is here. Wambua, stand up. That's the guy who does everything that I do. I told him, find out where the school is. Of course, it was just next to me. And get fee for that kid to be paid for a year. On top of that, we also gave a stipend. And as I speak, there is also a young Maasai man in this room. Where's Nchoko? That young man, I met him when he was in Stare Boys. His socks were torn. It was at YWCA. And he came to me. And he's like, I am an orphan. That's why I'm in Stare. But I always thought that Stare Boys was for the best. I didn't know that it was for the orphans. Then I realized that his socks was torn. And I said, haven't they given you school you were? He said, no. The rest is up to him. He has already graduated with Bachelor of Commerce from Mount Kenya University, courtesy of our office. But then do we need to tell the world with whatever little that we do? Do we need to brag that we have done this and this and that? That's why we go wrong with the political entities in this country. They do something small, they want cameras to follow them so that they are seen to be doing what they have to do. Now, before I continue, let's now look at that, our manifesto. I will start by saying, number one, I don't know whether you can hear me. If you have access, or if your eyes have access to the shutters on the ground and on the top of the room, our manifesto number one says we shall legalize weed. But I would like Dr. Gwada to come and stand near me because that man is a blueprint of information that this country has refused to follow. This man has of recent advised a president in the neighboring country to start marijuana, and he has started it, though I will not name the president. Professor, if I go wrong, just pardon me and take over. But because of time, I'll go very fast. Number one acre of Bangi can earn you $78,000 or 8 million per harvest. Per harvest. A harvest takes only 6 months. Now, if you have to harvest, that is 16 months, you earn 16 million. Of course, it will come with the tax implications so that you can raise money and revenue for the government to continue with what it ought to do. The whole of Nyeri county is 583,000 acres. This means that if we grew bank in Nyeri County, Nyeri residents will earn 45 billion US dollars or 4.6 trillion per harvest. Kenya today owes China, or the debt we have today is $10 trillion. Mengine unaweza kujijazia. What happened? Is that where where's number one? Where's number one? I thought we started with number one. Yes. And because Banki is harvested twice a year, it means Nyeri residents will earn $92 billion or 9.2 trillion every year. This means if you grew Bang for export, Nyeri is in 1 year, will earn the equivalent of Ethiopia's GDP.
Tingiza Mti.
If we agree bank in Nyeri alone, as you see, each Kenyan could get a dividend check. In Nyeri, each Kenyan would get a dividend check of 200,000 Kenya shillings every year from the sale of bangi. That's Nyeri only.
Tingiza Mti.
That means that we shall be very happy with that amount just from one county. Semeni haleluya. Kila mtu atakuwa anafanya nini? Ana pesa yake.
Tingiza Mti.
Utakuwa na bodaboda ya nini? Utauza miraa. Si miraa ikitoka una export tu na huko na pesa nyingine extra. Utakaa kwako ama utakaa kwako? Utajenga nyumba ya mabati ama ya tiles? Tuendelee. If we grew bangi in Nyeri alone, we would build 3 expressways in each county in Kenya. 2 express in each county in Kenya. If we grew bangi in Nyeri alone, Kenya could buy Bill Gates and Microsoft in just 2 years.
Tingiza Mti.
Canada, last year alone, of 75,000 acres, harvested 486 billion US dollars. And you see all the drones you see flying here and there, they are made up of fiber, which is from hemp. If you look at Canada this year, they manufactured the first plane made out of hemp, a product of marijuana. Now, if that plane was to land in Kenya today to pick up passengers because of international law, has Kenya got any jurisdiction to go and inspect the fabric of that plane? Let us stop joking. Let us stop being given unfair promises that cannot be fulfilled. We have the solution.
Tingiza Mti.
And please let me finish. You know, I went to school slowly. I was not metric. There was a point that was down there. But let's continue. Yes. If we grew bank in Nyeri alone, Kenya will have 10% of IMF total cash reserves. In short, we'll never have to borrow a single coin in future.
Tingiza Mti.
And Kenya will become the richest country in the world. Mount Kenya was made wealthy by 2 cash crops, coffee and tea. In fact, Kikuyus got their economic head start in 1923 when they were allowed to grow coffee and tea. Before 1923, it was illegal for any indigenous Kenyan to grow both crops. Bangi is our next cash crop. It grows widely in Mount Kenya. Question is, if we required the permission of Muzungus, who have now legalized Bangi, why should we legalize?
Tingiza Mti.
We have punitive laws. We have punitive laws which were imposed on Kenyan parliament through foreign aid, NACADA. Na wakati wametengeneza hiyo sheria, because wameambiwa msipotengeneza hii sheria tutawapatia mkopo, unaona wengine wanaenda kucheza hapo wakisema I've now made the rule, I've now made the rule. I wish there was a mimic here. Wanaenda ku rejuvenate, putting our men and women in jail for things that are not proper, having punitive regulations in this country that are putting our country outside the circles of morality. That's why we should have morality and solidarity. Repeat after me, morality and solidarity. That is Roots Party for you. But for the others, and repeat after me, is morality and is solidarity and immorality. Solidarity and immorality. That's what you see, and that's how I define our opponents. Because they are in solidarity with immorality. They are telling us lies, package of lies, package of lies. They are not telling us how. We are telling you how. And that is the truth. It takes a man. It takes a man like Daktari here, who, first of all, started this crusade, went to the Senate twice, was thrown out because the pharmaceutical companies that I'm opposed to, who make medicines, have got what we call the lobbying schemes. When they hear that Kenya wants to legalize bangi, they will call in the ministers concerned. Can you come for a talk in Britain? Whatever monies they are given, probably, and we know, and have figures, and trust me, I'll trash some of these opponents when they bring, yeah, you get them with bank accounts in Singapore. In Singapore, and I know who has money in Singapore and Dubai. In Singapore, so long as you can pay taxes on monies that you take there, that becomes legal. The wash that we know, the monies are taken to Singapore, they pay 15%, and then they bring it through Dubai to this country. Some of those opponents, let me tell you this, because I have the information, have staffed companies in Dubai to wash money. When the time for hanging comes, I will hang those ones when the laws are there.
Tingiza Mti.
Tunataka kila mtu atuambie, including myself, ni pesa ngapi uko nayo? Hizi nyumba unaishi ulitoa wapi? Hii magari uko nayo umetoa wapi? Hii watoto wako kila wakati wakiwa wagonjwa naenda ngambo unapelekanga namna gani? Hii uongo unatudanganya kila siku unatudanganya kwa nini? It's up to you guys to ask. It's my humble opportunity to exercise. It's my humble opportunity to exercise your right to vote. To guard that vote, as Mr. Kanyi has said. Mr. Kanyi that you saw there is a world scientist. He has worked for NASA in the US. He's a statistician. Very humble man. And probably that's why Justina chose him. Because if you look at Justina, umeona kama amechoka kwa uso. Umeona kama amechapa. So huyu mnaweza kumwamini na wasichana wenu. That's why alichukua kwa kamjamaa. Nafikiria hiyo ni mambo tutaongea baadaye. Number 2, snakes. Snakes. The Bible says that a snake, which they call a serpent, was a very brave animal. Inaendelea kusema kwamba hiyo ndio ilidanganya Adam, Eve. Na hiyo ni story zao, hataki kwenda in between because kunasemekana kwamba kulikuwa na matunda ilikuliwa huko. Na watu wengine wakakasirika ndio kwa maana watu wakaanza kujiona uti. Like the kind of snake I'm talking about, ni ile snake yenyewe, original. Hata mimi nikiwaonyesha hivi journalists, hii yote ni majeraha ya python when I was a young boy. How it really squeezed me to swallow me. To swallow me when I was young. Thank God I'm still alive. So I know the dangers of the snake. But the good part of it, the good part of that snake I'm talking about, is that it's carrying something in it. It is carrying something in it that is very productive, that will give us $1 billion US dollars per year. Na mimi nataka watu wachanuke tafadhali. Tumezoea ile lugha ambayo tunafundishwa kila siku for the last 50 years. Tukiambiwa kitu kama hiyo wengine wanakimbia, na wale bloggers wa ule mwingine. Wale bloggers wa ule mwingine ambao mmechukua jina yangu kuongea on my behalf. Endeleeni tu, lakini your lies will soon be disapproved on the 9th when I take over as the president of this country.
Tingiza Mti.
Wengine wanajiita ati Professor Wajackoyah kwa Facebook. Ile kizungu wanaandika haki ya Mungu kisoma, unajijazia. We will rear snakes. Can I come back to my snakes, please? Allow me to go the way I am. I'm a professor of law. We will rear snakes. If we did snake farming, each venomous snake farmer will earn an average of $6,000 or $600,000 per vial antivenom. Kadogo tu hivi unanyonga nyoka kidogo, kanatoka chui, kanaingia kwa chupa. Ako peke yake is 600 Kenya shillings unaweka kwa mfuko. Unaiwacha inaendelea. Alafu inasemekana hapo ya kwamba, for example, a cobra farmer will make $6,000 from a vial of cobra antivenom. If you harvest black mamba antivenom, a Kenyan farmer will take $5,300 per vial. Supposing you have 3 snakes. Nyoka tatu tu, na mtaonyeshwa kuvuga. Mtaonyeshwa how to keep them. You will be shown because the government will give you money from ganja to put a proper infrastructure.
Tingiza Mti.
Here you are a ganja farmer. Na unaweka uchimani ya nyoka kule kwa ganja, ndio mtu asije kukuibia usiku. Alafu una harvest both sides. Will you not be happy? Will you not be happy? Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you that we have wealth. We have wealth in our country. We don't need to depend on these people anymore. You heard the Rastafarians saying here. They said something about Patricia Lumumba. They talked about Haile Selassie. They talked about freedom of emancipation from slavery. When we look around ourselves and we ask ourselves questions, for how long are we going to be dictated upon? For how long are we going to be unemployed? For how long are we going to be told lies? Kazi kwa vijana, alafu napewa wheelbarrow na kijiko. So mmepewa hiyo. Alafu naambiwa at bottom up ikienda juu na wheelbarrow. Na wewe umesoma kizungu, wewe umesoma kwa university, unaenda nyumbani, unaambiwa ati sisi tutakupanga, ati kina boda boda, kina mama. There will be no mama mboga in our government. Kila mtu atakuwa ni enough. There will be no wheelbarrows in our government. Kila mtu alikuwa enough. There will be no hypocrisy in our government. Kila mtu atakuwa enough. There will be no lies. There will be no lies in our government. Kila mtu atakuwa na yake.
Live pictures there, live from the Kenyatta International Convention Center, KICC, in the CBD, where Roots Party presidential flag bearer, Professor